بسم الله.
نعم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين نبي الأنبياء وخاتم المرسلين، نبي الأنبياء وإمامهم وخاتم المرسلين، نبي الأنبياء وخاتمهم وإمام المرسلين، وعلى آله وصحابته وتابعين بإحسان إلى الدين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. وصوم وقفة لغير المحرم وصوم وقفة لغير المحرم وتاسع وعاشر محرم. هذه مندوبات الصوم. اسمعوا حتى يكون الأمر واضحا. الاشتغال بالمندوبات قبل القيام بالمفروضات هذا يقال له التسارع إلى الشهوات والهوى.
بسم الله الحمد لله
نحن الآن في مندوبات الصوم.
رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. We are in the recommended acts of fasting, and importantly to mention for fasting and for any recommended act that the person who is busy involving themselves in recommended acts before completing that which is obligatory is confused.
والمتسارع إلى التنفل وفرضه العيني لم يكمل فهو ممن قاده هواه وصد عما يبتغي مولاه. لو كان طالبا رضاه قدم ما أمر المالك أن يقدم.
من قال؟
هذا عفى الله عنه.
So, then this is one of the poetry mentioned in regard to this topic, that he says that the one who races to do things that are
تنفلات
nafil before the fard, to do something extra before doing what's required, this is a person who is
ممن قاده هواه كما قال محمد مولد بن أحمد فال
by their desires, because they are, if
لو
they
كان
were
طالبا
truly
رضاه قدم ما أمر المالك أن يقدم.
if they were truly seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure and reward, then they would have put forward and preferred what Allah and prioritized what Allah has prioritized.
فأحب الحديث القدسي أحب ما تقرب إلي بعبدي ما افترضته عليه.
In the Hadith Qudsi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that that my servant does not come with closer to me with anything more beloved than that which I have made obligatory upon him.
على سبيل المثال هذا الرجل بجنبي عيسى هذا هو سألني قال ينبغي أن تنبه الناس. هذا أحدثه الآن في وسط المجلس لما كنا في الجلسة الآن قال ينبغي أن تنبه الناس على ما هو الأولى لهم في رمضان.
So the brother who's sitting over here, he said that you should remind people what is most important for them during Ramadan.
أنا كنت مع الناس يعني تضيع عليهم أوقات الصلاة ويتسابقون إلى التراويح قبل قضاء اليوم الذي فاته.
He said I was with people, and this is known that
في المكاتب وفي المشاغل
offices and at work and so on, that
مضى عليهم الظهر والعصر والمغرب ما صلوا.
That the Dhuhr, Asr, and Maghrib passes and they don't pray it, but they're
ضيعوه مشتغلين بالدنيا.
They lost those prayers busy with the dunya.
عندما يأتي وقت التراويح يتسابقون حتى لا تفوتهم قبل أن يصلوا تلك الأوقات.
Before
وهم
even
صائمون.
making up those days, before even making up those prayers, they are competing to pray the Taraweeh prayer.
لا يمكن لإمام يسبقهم بتكبيرة الإحرام.
They will be there at the beginning of Taraweeh prayer, that they are not.
لا يمكن لإمام يقول الله أكبر في التراويح قبلهم.
That they do not accept that the Imam even says Allahu Akbar to begin the Taraweeh, except that they're standing.
لكن العشاء والمغرب والظهر والعصر ضاعوا.
But Isha, Maghrib, Dhuhr, Asr are gone.
هذا صحيح أم لا؟
نعم.
هؤلاء السائلون بجنبي.
I'm asking these people in front of me, and they're the ones who said it.
وأعتقد أن الغائبين يعلمون ذلك جزما.
And I believe certainly that the people who are viewing, they know this reality, that people miss their prayers and they prefer to.
مع أني أنا لا أبالي حيث هؤلاء الناس يتسابقوا إلى التراويح لأنهم لو صلوا الفرض غير صحيح لأنهم ما تعلموا أحكامه.
But then even I'll go a step further and I'll say that it doesn't even matter these people are praying Taraweeh or not Taraweeh, or even those fard. whatever they're praying, they haven't even learned properly, so they aren't fulfilling it right. They need to learn first.
لأن الإسلام الآن أعراف هو ما يتعلق بالشريعة.
So this exposes the reality that the deen today, people prioritize culture and they don't care about substance.
الناس يعدونهم كم جاء للتراويح وما صلوا الفرض.
That they're counting how many of tarawih they did and they didn't even pray fard.
ويعدونهم في الجمعات وهم ما صلوا الأسبوع كله.
And then they're taking into account their Jum'ah while they haven't even
كأن
prayed the
الصلاة
whole
يوم
week.
عيد فقط يوم الجمعة ما قبله ولا بعده خلاص.
As if that's the prayer holiday Jum'ah, that there's no prayer before.
لكني أحمد الله تعالى أنهم ما صلوا سائر الجمعة سائر الأسبوع.
But then I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and for that they didn't pray any other prayers during the week except
كل
Jum'ah.
الأسبوع لا يوم الجمعة.
I thank Allah that they didn't pray any prayers the way that they pray except for Jum'ah.
لأنهم ما أريدهم يشتغلوا بالمعاصي وهم يعتقدون أنهم على خير.
Because since they don't know how to pray, I don't want them to be doing those prayers thinking they're praying when they're really doing major sins.
أقل شيء يكونوا استراحوا ناموا أكلوا شربوا خمورا زنوا ذهبوا مع صديقاتهم الحمد لله حصلوا على شيء. أقل شيء أحسن يعني أحسن.
At least they got to enjoy themselves, a'udhu billah, with the sins that they're doing, going back and forth and with their boyfriend and girlfriend and committing zina and drinking alcohol. That they're doing a sin.
عندهم نشاط بدني.
That at least they know they're doing a sin and they're enjoying
عندهم
themselves.
نشاط بدني واشتغلوا بشهوات مقبولة. اشتغلوا بشهوات يعني. هذا جيد الحمد لله. هذا بالنسبة لي أحسن من الاشتغال بالعبادات بدون علم.
For me, people openly sinning and following their desires openly and knowingly is better than them.
أشعر بالراحة لهم أكثر من واحد يعبد بدون
I'm more satisfied in their regard than the people who are following their desires by doing worship, thinking that they're doing a good deed, and in reality they're doing a major sin. Both are major sins.
ولكن هذا عمي ولا يعلمون أنهم عمي وأولئك عمي واضحة.
But in one case, the major sin is known.
هذا عمي صم بكم عمي ولا يعقلون لكن معروفة.
That they may be blind and deluded, but it's known.
معروف لدى الجميع وعليهم.
Everybody knows and they know that
هؤلاء
they're doing
ضالون.
wrong and that they're lost.
ولكن هؤلاء يعتقدون الخير ويعتقد فيهم الغير الخير.
But those are the other ones. They're blind when they don't even know that they're blind.
والجميع يعتقد فيهم الخير أنهم صالحون.
And they think that they're righteous, and the others think that they're righteous. Everybody thinks that they're righteous.
الكل يقول لهم رجال طيبون ونساء طيبات لا يخرجون من المسجد ولا يتركون الصلاة ولا الصلاة. الكل ما شاء الله هذا شخص عابد.
Everybody looks at them saying, "Look at this devout person that they're worshiping and praying."
ادعي لي أسألك الدعاء.
Pray for me.
Pray for yourself. Don't pray for me. لا تدعوا لي أصلا. أنا لا أسألكم الدعاء. من لم يتعلم فرض عين لا أسأله الدعاء.
The one who did not learn their فرض عين, I don't ask them for dua at all.
ليس صالح وفاسق لا يرجى منه خير.
Because that person is not righteous. That person is an open sinner.
خصوصا إذا كان يشتغل بالعبادات.
Even especially if they're worshiping and doing a lot of acts of worship when they're ignorant.
وأكرر لكم قصة علي رضي الله تعالى عنه.
And I'll repeat to you the story of Ali.
قسم ظهري رجلان.
2 men have broken my back.
رجل عالم متهتك وناسك جاهل متنسك عابد جاهل.
The sinful corrupt scholar and the worshipping a devout ignorant person.
نعم هذه المندوبات هي مندوبات الصوم وصوم وقفة لغير المحرم. صوم الوقفة يوم عرفة هذا الصوم شو تسمعهم الآن عندما يتكلمون عن عرفة يقول يكفر سنة قبله وبعده وما أتى به شرط. عندما يأتي الخطيب عند يوم تعرفون لو كانت جمعة يوم في العيد عيد الأضحى الجميع لا يفوت صوم يوم عرفة وما تعلموا. هي عرفة بأصلها باطلة عندكم والحج باطل والصوم باطل والصلاة باطل.
So he says now we're in the preferred acts, the recommended acts of fasting. So the recommended fast he's mentioning is وصوم وقفة, meaning the day of Arafah, for the person who is not doing Hajj. the one who's not in Hajj, the one who's not in Ihram, then then it's preferred or recommended to fast the day of Arafah. You see, the day of Arafah is coming close, the day of Eid, everybody's mentioning and every Imam is mentioning that the one who fasts the day of Arafah, he's expiated, forgiven for the coming year and the past year of sins. And everybody mentions this, wow, I'm going to 2 years of forgiveness of sins for fasting one day.
أنه لو شرب الخمر وزنا ولاط وفعل كل الكبائر وخرج على الإسلام سيغفر له.
And everybody,
هذا هو الموجود. هذا هو اللي
everybody fasts on that day, assuming that
عندما يسمع الخطيب يقول هذا سيعتقد جزما.
That when they hear the khatib saying this, oh, I'm going to drink alcohol, I'm going to do this, I'm going to commit homosexuality, I'm going to commit zina, and I'm going to fast on this day and my sins will be forgiven for 2 years.
صحيح.
When they hear the khatib saying this, they think that, oh,
هذا صحيح أم لا؟
بعضهم نعم.
هذا جيد. أنا أقول لك غالبهم. أنا أقول لك.
You say some of them, I say most of them.
أنا أخبرك 99.
I'm letting you know that 99% of the people think that it doesn't matter what the sin and major sins.
لكن أنا أخبرك أن صوم عرفة ما وجد أصلا. أخبرك الخبر اليقين.
I'll tell you certainly that anyways the people who are fasting,
سواء قلنا أنه سيكفر سنة قبله وبعده وسنتين هذا ما وجد.
whether 1 2 years, they're not getting this reward
لأن
from
المعدوم
fasting
شرعا معدوم حسنا.
because they didn't fast. And if they didn't
أين
fast,
الشروط؟
then that's it.
أين شروط الصوم؟
Their fasting is not proper. The conditions of fasting.
وإذا كان رمضان ما صح فكيف بعرفة تصح؟ إذا كان رمضان ما صح وإذا كانت الصلاة لم تصح فكيف بعرفة؟
So if Ramadan is not fasted properly, then what do you think of fasting the day of Arafah?
وإذا الصلاة لم تصح فأين الصوم؟
And if the prayer is incorrect, then where's the
يعني
fasting?
متعلق بالأوقات ومتعلق بمعرفة الشروط والأركان والفرائض والتعلم.
Meaning, what do you think? How do you think the fasting of somebody who doesn't know how to pray properly? How do you think their fasting will be?
لغير المحرمين أنا أكرر عليكم وأكرر لأن الأمر بلغ السيل الربا أكرر عليكم لأن السيل بلغ رؤوس التلال.
All of these things, they require learning those conditions and implementing them and so on. And I'm informing you of this because it's an Arabic saying that the flood has reached the tops of the mountains. Like
أنتم في مكان الخوف أنتم في طوفان نوح عليه السلام.
You are in the flood of Nuh alayhi salam.
أنتم في سفينة نوح قد تسقطون وخلاص تموتون والحمد لله.
You have your opportunity to get on the ship of Nuh alayhi salam.
في مكان الخطأ.
Or if you stay where you
إن
are,
أعطاكم الله نوحا عليه السلام فستنجون وإن كنتم من قوم لوط ما تتابعون الشريعة خلاص.
If Allah gives you the
إن اتبعتم الصراط المستقيم فأنتم سفينة في وسط البحر.
If you are following the straight path, if you learn and implement,
ولن يوشيكم من ذلك إلا أن تكونوا غرباء في غرباء.
That is your ship. That is the ship of
عدد قوم نوح 7 8 9.
And this is and if you do not take it, then the flood will overtake you. And if you do take it, you have to understand that you will be in the very, very, very small minority, just like the people who went on, of all the people of Nuh alayhi salam, how many people went on the ship? 70, 80 people.
هذا أخبركم به رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أنكم ستكونون كأصحاب سفينة نوح.
The Prophet ﷺ has informed you of that strangeness, to be a stranger, to be different, to be the outlier, that he said, just giving that example, or saying that you would be strangers if you wanted to be saved in these
بدأ
times.
الإسلام غريبا وسيعود غريبا فطوبى للغرباء. من يتكلم الآن عن هذا؟ حتى أنا الآن كنت في هذا الدرس واحد كتب في الصفحة أنا هذا أحتاج إلى العلم للمبتدئين في الإسلام. أي ابتداء تحت هذا؟ قال أنا أحتاج أنا ما أعرف أي تحت، هل هذا تحت رقمه وأنت تعلم؟ هل اللي نتكلم عنه
قال على نفسه؟
قال يحتاج إن هذا للأقوياء من المسلمين. الآن كتب.
عجيب ما شاء الله.
أنا كل لحظة يأتيني مصيبة، كل لحظة يأتيني تعليق.
So then the Prophet
هذا علق
ﷺ
عيسى وهذه علقت في الصفحة.
The Prophet ﷺ said that
بدأ الإسلام غريبا.
That Islam began as strange, and it will return to be strange like it began. So glad tidings in Jannah for the ones who are strange. for the ones who are different apart from the masses.
يحسبه الناس غريبا لا
People
يقدرون على
look at the person, that individual, as odd in the very, very small
يحسبونه
minority.
من عمولات أصحاب الكهف.
And despite the vast number of Muslims still being viewed as very strange, like the people, the children of the cave, the youth.
جاءوا بالعملاء قالوا نحن نريد نشتري الثوب نشتري
And
البضائع.
they went after all those years and they tried to spend that currency. Hundreds of years had passed and they tried to use the old currency. They were looked at as strange. That's how strange.
هذا هو.
That's how strange.
ذاك هو الغريب مثال تام.
That is the example of a stranger.
من يريد أن يكون عملة أهل الكهف فمرحبا.
Whoever wants to be as uncommon as the
من يريد أن
currency,
يكون بدويا مثلي مرحبا.
as a 300-year-old currency, then go ahead. Whoever wants to be a Bedouin like me, then go ahead.
وإن رأيت البدو فيه نقصا وأن ذلك صريح النصا فاذكر حديثا فيه خير مالي وفيه ذكر شوع في الجبال تعلم أن ذا أوان الهرب.
So if you see something that is righteous but has some deficiency, if you see this description
بادية
of being a Bedouin,
كانت من قبل فيها النقص وفيها الجفاء وفيها نقص العقلي. هذا ليس في آخر
a
الزمان.
Bedouin was something that was traditionally associated with a lack of education or a certain harshness in
هذا
treatment and so
بالنسبة
on.
للقديم.
This is the old description of being a Bedouin.
وإن أردت الدليل فعليك بقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
But in the modern times, the Prophet ﷺ has described that description of a
يوشك أن
Bedouin
يكون خير مال المسلم ظن من يتتبع بها شعف الجبال ومواقع القطر يفر بدينه من الفتن.
as the best property of a believer, that he said, ﷺ, soon there will be a time that the best property of a believer will be some sheep or goats, that he goes into the wilderness and he follows the trickling of the water and the waterfalls and the pools, fleeing away from the tops of the mountains, fleeing away from the people for the sake,
يفر بدينه من الفتن.
fleeing away with his deen.
أنا
from the
هذه
trials.
البداوة اخترتها أنا في وسط حضارتكم اخترتها.
So I have chosen to be a Bedouin in the midst of your civilization.
وأعلم من الغرائب ما لا تعلمون وأنت لا تعلم هذا لا يعلمه.
And I know from these strange things that you do that you don't know and you don't know and you
وأنت
don't know.
مولود في كاليفورنيا.
And you're born in California and you don't know.
وهؤلاء كلهم يعلمون. وأخبرتكم به كل يوم تعلمون أليس ذلك؟ هل أخبرتكم بما لا تعلمون في قومكم؟
Have I not informed each one of you about things in your people that you weren't aware of?
أخبروني.
Answer.
Yes.
أعلمكم علم اليقين وعين اليقين وخبر اليقين.
I know you from seeing you certainly, from knowing about you certainly, and from hearing about you certainly.
سأعطيكم قصص وليس هذا محله ولكن لتعلموا أنني أعلمكم.
I can give you stories and this is not the place for it, but just so you know that I know you.
القصة الماضية التي أنت كنت مع كم من مفتي ولا يحفظ جزءا من القرآن. هذا صحيح. How many people now you know said مفتي ولا يحفظ جزءا من إذا مريت ولا جزء من القرآن. أنت تعرف أني أخبرتك بأن إمام لو سميته لك لا أخبرتك إمام يصلي بالناس ويخطب قال لي أنه في ابتغاء مرضات زوجته نكاح بينهما فقط نزاع بينهما يريد حل الصلح. تعرف ما هو حل الصلح بأي شيء؟ قال لي عندما أخرج إلى المسجد أقبل رأسها وقدميها.
يا الله.
وهي متكئة على سريرها. أنا أحاول أن أصلح الأمر بيننا. ما تركت شيئا من المحاولة أنا أقبل رأسها وقدميها.
That, as I mentioned earlier, that there are some muftis who
Not
are
some, all of them.
بعضهم ما شاء الله لا أدري السنوات أنه مفتي وهو من أفضل القراء ما شاء الله بعضهم.
Maybe one, two, I'm not sure. وليس من أحفظ القرآن لأنه ما يحفظ الأجزاء يقرأ في المصحف وبعد ذلك.
لا هم عندهم لابد أن يحفظوا حفظ.
لا يحتاج المصحف طيلة حياته.
لا يحتاج المصحف إلا المراجعة.
هذا ما هو حافظ.
نعم.
وإذا كان يحتاج المراجعة ليس بحاجة.
يعني أحيانا ولكن يؤم بدون.
لا ولكن هذا إذا كان يحتاج المراجعة ليس بحاجة.
يعني الله أعلم عن هذا.
إذا كان يحتاج المراجعة ولا أظنه لا يحتاج لأنه ضروري يحتاج المراجعة في رمضان نعرفهم لا يقال له حافظ. الحافظ الذي لا يحتاج المصحف.
The one who needs to review This is not considered a hafid. That is the standard that is being referred to. The one who needs to review before reciting in Ramadan. That means this is a person who has forgotten.
هذا يقال له الناسي. هذا في العربية الناسي ليس الحافظ.
This is called a forgetter and not a memorizer.
هذا في العربية الناسي.
In Arabic, this is somebody who has forgotten, not somebody who has memorized. So the one who memorizes is the one who at any time of the year you ask them and they can recite to you from any place in the Quran. That's the one who memorized, as in that they reached a level that they're not forgetting it. They have not forgotten it yet. And because they're constantly always reciting.
هذا صعب جدا هذا.
So then that's the
forgotten this time هذا اللي يسموه.
So then the muftis can يعني ولكن كثير منهم لا يستطيعون أن يقرأوا من المصحف جزء بتجويد صحيح.
نعم هذا قلت.
But most of them honestly cannot recite one full juz' with a proper tajweed.
من المصحف from المصحف.
From the مصحف.
طيب هذه غريبة.
وبعضهم حتى ليس في سورة الفاتحة. And some of them not even Surah Al-Fatiha and they're a mufti.
Okay, go ahead. This is your khabar.
And this is your information. I was hesitating because some of them, amazing, and I'm very picky with tajweed, but mashallah, but their memorization is not up to that standard. Some of them, so there's varying.
You can count in your finger.
But you can count on your fingers, yes, absolutely.
Yes, okay.
Maybe I'll take one hand or maybe one finger.
Thank you. Thank you to tell us حقيقة. Okay, يسهل مكة تدرى بشعابها.
The truth.
يسهل مكة تدرى بشعابها.
The people of Mecca are. They know its alleyways. The people of the Bay Area know its alleyways. So then there is this other man who is maybe have been a mufti or a sheikh.
Maybe هو إمام قطعة.
Allah alam about what titles he has, and he had some dispute with his wife, and he's saying, I'm trying to reconcile with my wife. And where we reached in our reconciliation is that every time I leave the house, before I go to lead the prayer in the masjid in the morning, I kiss her head and her feet while she's laying down in the bed. To reconcile.
أنا قلت واسمعوني أيتها النساء إن هذا الرجل لو ما بقي في الدنيا رجل الله وما أزوجه بنتي ولا أختي.
And I tell you, oh women, and I especially address the sisters, I'll tell you something personally. If it was my sister or my daughter, I would. If even he was the last man on earth.
لا يوجد في الدنيا أحد غيره. لا يوجد الدنيا. لا يوجد رجل.
Even if there's no other man on the face of the earth at all.
ما هي المصلحة على المرأة من هذا الرجل؟
What's a woman going to gain from
تركها على السرير لا تريد الصلاة ولا تريد شيء ويحاول الصلح بأن يقبل قدميها ورأسها.
What is the benefit of this woman who's still laying down on her bed, not even getting up to pray, and the imam is kissing her head and feet? And he was saying this as kind of an excuse, I'm trying what I can do. But if people hear this story, they'll say, what a wonderful speaker. Why is this guy criticizing him? This is an excellent man. That the Prophet ﷺ said, the best of you is the best of you to his family.
بئس هذا أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم هذا ضلال بإمام له لحية كبيرة والناس يقولون ويعطي الخطب والوعظ.
An imam with his big beard giving his speeches and admonishing people, and this is his state.
أنا أسأل النساء هل ترضين بزواج هذا الرجل؟ Thank you very much. May Allah give you التوفيق والعافية.
I asked the sisters, do you agree to marry such an individual? And they said no. Right now.
جزاكم الله خير. Thank you very much for this no. I'm happy with this no. I'm sad for his man, his wife. He's worse his man, she worse my wife. I'm very sorry for Muslimin. لا حول ولا قوة. هذا شيء أنا لو لم أره بعيني رأسي لا أصدقه.
If I did not see this with my own eyes, I would not
أنا
believe
لا لو قيل لي بخبر لو جاءني المرابط الحاج وكفى عندي وقال لي نقول له لا أصدقه المرابط أنا أعتقد أنك عدل ولكن هذا خطأ. هذا خطأ في الطريق نسيت لعلك نسيت.
If مرابط الحاج
وكفى. أنا إذا قلت مرابط الحاج انتهى الأمر، انتهت الدنيا وما فيها ومن معها.
Everything, everybody in the world.
يا أيها العلماء انعدموا.
There is no one. Everybody becomes nothing in comparison to me. Anybody in the world, anybody becomes nothing. Once مرابط الحاج is mentioned. But if he told me that he did this,
أنت في غاية الورع،
I would tell him, you know, absolutely, of course I know that, mashallah, you have the highest righteousness that I've ever seen.
لكن لعلك نسيت
But
واختلط
perhaps
عقلك.
maybe you have forgotten.
واختلط عقلك أنت الآن مختل يعني.
Maybe something happened to you psychologically, maybe mentally something happened to you.
نحتاج دواء لأن
We should seek some kind of medicine.
مريض حقيقة. هذا لكن أنتم ما ستستغربونها لأنكم تعرفون الأشياء الفاسدة يعني تعدون هذا الشيء.
But unfortunately, many of you are not surprised by this.
Because قد يكون جيد يعني
or you might even think it is something good.
هذا رحمة، هذا has been very good.
But look at how merciful he is and so on.
ما شاء الله هذا ما شاء الله طيب يعني ما شاء الله طيب. شبه ما طيب شبه ما ورا شبه. هذا ليس برجل أصلا أخبركم القبر اليقين. هذا ليس برجل. أما إمام هيهات.
I'll tell you, this man is far from being an imam or a man.
هذا ولا أعتقد أنه ذكر. لا أعتقد ذكورية المسكين ضعيف جدا. هذا ضعيف جدا. نعم. وصوم وقفة لغير المحرم وتاسع وعاشر المحرم. تاسع، اليوم التاسع من المحرم هذا أيضا مندوب صوم، وكذلك اليوم العاشر. هيا تأكدوا.
So Arafah is the day of the ninth day of the Hijjah. This is a day that is recommended strongly to fast, and the 9th and the 10th of Muharram.
نعم أحسنت. تاسع المحرم وعاشره أيضا.
And the 9th and the 10th of Muharram. نعم.
كل منهما مؤكد صوم.
All of these, it's emphasized to fast on these days, but it's not required.
وستة من شهر شوال كما ثلاثة من كل شهر فاعلم. ستة من شهر شوال أيضا.
And 6 days from the month of Shawwal and 3 days from every other month. It is recommended to fast.
وجاز صوم جمعة والدهر. مالك لا يرى تخصيص صوم يوم الجمعة في حرج. يمكن واحد يتسلط على يوم الجمعة فقط وليس قبله يوم ولا بعده ويصومه بمذهب مالك ولا حرج لا كراهة بذلك بل جائز. هذا احترازا من حديث مسلم لا يصوم أحدكم يوم الجمعة إلا وقبله يوم بعده، لأن مالك يقدم عمل أهل المدينة على الأحادية.
فلا يوجد فيه كراهة.
لا لأنه قال وجدت أهل البلد لو يجد المدينة يفعلون ذلك يقدم على أحد الأحاد وقال جاز. هذا مذهب مالك سأبين العلة.
So then, as far as the Maliki opinion in regard to fasting Friday alone, it is permissible. It's not disliked because the actions of the people of Medina were upon it, and I'll clarify the reasoning for that. Despite the hadith that indicates that one should not fast Friday on its own without fasting Thursday or Saturday with it.
نعم. قالوا لمالك لماذا تقدم هذا على هذا؟
They said, "Oh Imam Malik, why do you allow this opinion? Why do you prefer this opinion?"
تعلمون أنهم يقولون أن الجواب يكون رجل. جواب رجل. قال 1000 عن 1000 أحب إلي من واحد عن واحد. قال أهل المدينة.
He said, subhanallah, look at his reply.
تعلمون أن جوابه جواب رجل.
And you'll see that his reply is the reply of
هو إمام الحديث لم يفته الحديث.
In his knowledge and in his knowledge of hadith, he knew that hadith, but he gave the opinion based upon the actions of the people of Medina. He said that the actions of for me it's stronger to receive 1,000 people's actions who received it from 1,000 rather than a hadith that was narrated by one person and passed down by one person.
1000 عن 1000 أحب إلي من واحد عن واحد. هل الحديث عندكم بلغ 20 شخصا رووه متواترا وثلاثة؟ لا 2 3. قال وكم من التابعين وتابع التابعين إلى الصحابة يمارسون هذا العمل.
So how many people he said narrated this hadith? 2-3 of the followers of the companions. 2-3 of them Well, how many people have
في المدينة آلاف.
in Medina?
في البقيع تعرفون في البقيع كم؟ 10,000 من الصحابة.
In the Baqi' 10.
فقط مقبرة واحد مقبرة البقيع.
In the Baqi', the cemetery of Medina, there's just in that cemetery there's 10,000 of the companions.
و90,000 من التابعين.
And 90,000 of the followers of the companions, and he said that well, thousands of people from thousands of people is stronger than the two.
عندما قال ذلك توقف الكلام.
After that, the matter was done. There's no more discussion.
لأنه يتكلم مع العلماء لا يتكلم مع البلداء.
Meaning that those companions or the followers of the companions, they used to fast on Jum'ahs independently.
ما تركوه إلا لنسخنا بشيء أقوى منه. هذا هو تعويله عليه. قال ما تركه الصحابة والتابعون إلا لحديث نسخه لم ندره أو لشيء أقوى منه.
And in regard to those followers of the companions or the companions, why would they act in contrary to the hadith? They would only do so on such a mass scale if there was another hadith that explained it that was stronger than it, or something that changed the ruling or explained the ruling further. There's a reason. It's the hadith is not as it appears, meaning.
أنا لا أريد الأحناف يقلدون مالكا ولا الشوافع لأن هذا ليس حقهم ولكن أريد الجاهل يسكت.
I'm not saying this to convince people from other madhabs to follow the Maliki opinion. No. I'm saying this so that the ignorant person remains silent.
يعني اسمع الواحد يقول لا تصوم يوم الجمعة ولا تفعل كذا والحديث قال لك أنت الحديث لست من أهلي. اسكت.
So I know that some people, they'll be sharing their opinion. They heard the hadith, oh, how the Malikis are wrong. Or Malikis, I've heard Malikis go against the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Because of this, they're going against this hadith. No, that's you're an ignorant person. Please stay quiet.
أحسن لك تسكت.
It's better for you to
حتى لا تأتيك نصيحة نملة سليمان.
So that you do not become advised with the advice of the ant that saw Sulaiman.
نملة حكيمة.
The wise ant.
ولكنك أنت جاهل. أنت بليد.
That ant was wise, but you're an ignorant
أنت أحسن منك نملة بكثير.
You are a fool.
أنت رجل لك أولاد وأحفاد وأحسن منك نملة.
You're a man with children and grandchildren, but that ant is better than you.
تقول لك النملة يا أيها النمل ادخلوا مساكنكم.
The ant knew its place. It saw the army of Sulaiman approaching.
رأت لسليمان والشياطين والإنس والجن مصفدة والعمال والعالم بعض في السجون وبعض يعمل حتى الشياطين لا يتحرك واحد إلا بإذنه.
It saw
the
armies of humankind and jinns and animals and birds.
العالم كله تحت قبضته. العالم سمي العالم.
The whole world.
سمي العالم.
The whole universe under the control.
إن كان هذا كفر فنحن كافرون.
Sulaiman alayhi salam. And if this is kufr, then I guess we're kafar. If this universe means that much to you.
الجن والإنس والشياطين كل بناء وغواص وآخرون مقرنون في الأصفاد.
That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala
قال الشياطين
the humans, the jinn, Allah says and the shayateen, everyone
مقرنون في الأصفاد كل بناء وغواص
shackled, all the builders and the divers.
إما في الأصفاد وإما مقرنون وإما يبنون وإما في الغواصون.
They're either working for him, they're either imprisoned by him, they're either diving for him, they're either building for him.
ما بهم واحد يتنفس إلا بإذنه.
They do not breathe except with his permission.
قالت لما رأت هذا العالم المدهش قالت للنمل ادخلوا مساكن.
When she saw this incredible and astounding army approaching, she told the other ants, enter into your holes so you do not become trampled.
لا يحطمنكم سليمان وجنوده وهم لا يشعرون.
Enter into your tunnels so that you're not trampled by Sulaiman and his army without them even feeling it.
لا يحطمنكم العلماء وأنتم لا تشعرون.
So please.
لا يحطمنكم الرجال وأنتم لا تشعرون. من لا يقدر على نطاح الجبال فعليه أن لا يخرق رأسه.
So if you don't want to be trampled by the scholars and their statements, then just
هؤلاء جند سليمان.
Keep your head down. Those scholars and those masses and thousands of scholars, they are like the army of Sulaiman alayhi salam.
لا تتحطم وهم لا يشعرون.
They would trample you. They answered your question and your concern over 1,000 years before you asked it, and they didn't even know who you are. So if you're not ready to butt heads with a mountain, then just sit down.
أنت تعرف الوعي الغزال هذا. تعرف الغزال؟
نعم.
وأحيانا يناطح الحجارة.
So you know that there's some kind of antelope, some kind of deer, with horns, and it sometimes it butts heads, or a ram, or
يحاول
sometimes
يتبين له أنه عنده قدرة شديدة.
he tries to show off his
يتبين
strength,
له فحولته هو أنه قوي.
thinking he's strong, so he starts butting heads with a rock.
يقول الشاعر كناطح صخرة يوما ليوهنها فلم يضرها الصخرة صخرة وأوهى قرنه الوعي مسكين كسر قرنه ويدمه.
So he said like that goat or that antelope who's butting heads with the rock to show his to weaken it, but in the end the rock didn't even feel anything and wasn't affected, and he broke his horn.
ويرجع متلطخ بالدم.
And he comes home bloody, and that's it.
هو حال جاهل مسكين.
This is the state of the ignorant person who is just
لأن
giving their opinions.
في رجال الحروب ورجال الأكل. خلق الله للحروب رجالا.
Dismissing the statements of scholars and madhabs based on their understanding of one probably translated hadith.
خلوا عنكم هذا كما يقول الشيخ محمد عوامة حفظه الله تعالى هذا رجل حنفي عجيب أنا ما رأيت رجلا موفقا مثله. يقول لهم دعوا الأمور لأهلها أنتم هناك خلوا عندما ترون اختلاف العلماء تجدون الناس يعني بلغوا درجة بعيدة جدا. كتب كتاب في اختلاف الأئمة هذا يعني كتاب نفيس جدا. أو محمد عوامة اختلاف الأئمة في الحديث هذا يعني
Sheikh Muhammad Awama, may Allah protect him, wrote a book, a very blessed Hanafi scholar, that perhaps this person, it seems in reality he can be called a muhaddith. He wrote a book on hadith that is an excellent work on hadith that he mentions just the spectrum of how a hadith can be understood and explained in vastly different and differing ways that help a person who will understand it at their first grasp that really they haven't understood anything. So he showed, for the people who read it who are educated, he explained to them how blind they are in terms of understanding hadith in comparison to the scholars. He clarified and explained a very good explanation, and he's a blessed man. May Allah bless him.
نزم شهر شوال كما 3 من كل شهر عمما نعم وجاز صوم جمعة والدهر جاز صوم الدهر كله اختلف العلماء هل أفضل أن تصوم يوما وتفطر يوما أو تصوم الدهر كله في ذلك خلاف بين العلماء.
So then there is the 6 days of Shawwal, which are 6 days in the month after Ramadan, and also 3 days are recommended to fast from every month, and it is permissible to fast on Fridays alone independently, and any day or all days. And if somebody, and there's a difference of opinion, if somebody wants to fast as much as they possibly can, should they fast the fast of fasting one day and breaking fast one day, or is it preferred and more rewarded for them to fast every single day of their life? There's a difference of opinion. Which one is more rewarded?
كذلك التسويك بعد الظهر مذهب مالك وأبي حنيفة ومعهم يقولون السواك كل نهار ما في حرج خلاف للشافعي يقول بعد الظهر الأفضل أن تترك السواك ولهم في ذلك أدلة لا تقدرون على استخراجها.
So then there's a difference of opinion in regard to this, but he says it is also permissible to
يبقى مندوب السواك يبقى في مذهب مالك مندوب السواك كالعادة.
ليس جائز هنا مندوب هنا.
نعم جائز هنا بمعنى المندوب.
So then he says that it is preferred, recommended to use the miswak. It remains to be recommended to use the miswak, the dry miswak, the dry tooth stick.
على العادة فقط.
Just as you normally use it, even after the dhuhr prayer, as opposed to the other opinions that say that you should keep the bad smell of the mouth as a part of the reward of the fasting. And they have proofs as well. But of course we don't have time to mention the proofs of everything, but there's proofs on both sides, and both opinions are valid opinions. This opinion that he's mentioning over here is that it is permissible in the Maliki madhab for somebody, and it is in fact remains to be recommended to use the miswak throughout the day when one is fasting, even after the
وفطر من سافر قبل الفجر مسافر القصر يفطر القصر كذلك أيضا يجوز للشخص إذا خرج قبل الفجر من قريته خرج من حدود قريته قبل الفجر إذا كان سيسافر مسافة القصر 48 كيلومتر أو على المذهب الآخر. المهم سفر قصر وسنبينه في الصلاة يجوز له أن يفطر في ذلك السفر حتى يعود.
So then يعني خرج من
مدينته قبل طلوع الفجر. ذلك اليوم ما يمكن يفطر به إلا إذا كان خرج.
So it is also permissible for the person who
يجوز
is traveling and they're going to end up traveling more than the distance of traveling, for them to break their fast so long as that travel not only began before Fajr, but they left their city limits before Fajr entered. Then they are allowed to break their fast on that day of their traveling. So they don't have to reach the traveling distance before Fajr. They simply have to leave their city limit for that traveling before Fajr.
نعم. إذا خرج من حدود القرية قبل الفجر، فإذا خرج بعد الفجر يجب عليه أن يكمل ذلك اليوم وبعدين هو مخير إذا حب.
So if they leave after Fajr, then that day they have to fast. But then the next day, if they're still traveling, then they have the option of breaking.
حتى يعود من سفره أو يمكث بمكان 4 أيام.
Until they return from their travels, or they're going to spend certainly 4 days in one city. 4 full days, meaning disregarding the day of coming and going. 4 full days. يعني إن كان يعلم أنه سيمكث أكثر من 4 أيام فيصوم مباشرة.
نعم إذا وصل إلى كل مكان.
إلى وصل. So but if they know certainly that they're going to spend 4 full days in that place, then they have to immediately start fasting.
أسبوعين على مذهب أبي حنيفة.
And the Maliki madhab it's 4 days, and the Hanafi madhab it's 14 days or 15 days. 15 يوم.
أعتقد أنه 15 يوم.
I believe 15 days, 2 weeks or 15 days.
ومن سافر قبل الفجر مسافة القصر بقصد الفطر إذا أراد أن يفطر، إذا قصد أن يصوم ما يمكن أن يفطر. نعم كما قلنا مخيرا.
So they have to also intend to break their fast that day. They couldn't.
تمضمض العطشان كذلك يجوز للإنسان يتمضمض فقط ولو في وقت الصلاة ليبرد ويدفل عنه ما بحرج.
So then
لكن يتحفظ.
The ruling of rinsing one's mouth for the reason of thirst, not swallowing anything, but to remove the dryness of the mouth, or to remove, meaning to reduce the heat on themselves and cool themselves down, to put water into the mouth and then spit it out. This is like
وكذلك الاحتجاب للصحيح الذي لا يطعم ولا حرج.
That does not break the fast. مكروه هذا؟
ها؟ مضمضة جائزة فقط.
So it is also permissible as well to do that, to rinse the mouth and spit out, just like as if you were making wudu. And just like if you're making wudu, if you swallow it, it breaks your fast.
وكذلك يجوز أيضا الإفطار للمريض.
So, but a person should be very careful when they do that. Also, having hijama as well.
كان قادرا لا تطعمه لا حرج في ذلك.
For the one who, this is the understanding, for the one who they know by habit that it doesn't to fast when they get cupping, it's not going to weaken them from fasting, that they're going to have to break their fast. If they know that, then there's no problem in them getting hijama.
لأن الأصل في التحريج عن الحجامة هو إطعام عن الصوم، إن كانت لا تطعمه لا حرج في ذلك. افهموا أفهام العلماء.
So look at how the scholars understood the hadiths in regard to the breaking fast of the one who does hijama. No, it's for the one who it's wrong to do hijama, to do wet cupping. When you're fasting, that it will make you break your fast. Regardless, it in itself does not break your fast. There's no scholar that will say that it truly actually has the ruling of breaking your fast.
Does it affect wudu?
لا على مذهب أبي حنيفة يفطر. لا يوجد. أفطر حاجب على ما يفطر به. حتى قال اختلف العلماء من سمع هذا الحديث وأكل وشرب يكفر ولا يكفر.
سبحان الله.
نعم هو صعب جدا.
يعني ربما تأويل بعيد يعني.
نعم تأويل بعيد، بعضهم عدلها بعد، لأن فهم الحديث ليس بالسهل.
So this is أوضح لهم هذا مهم جدا جدا. There's a hadith. Here's the translation of it. Do not take the literal meaning of the translation. Just listen to it after you heard the.
سأقدم لكم قول سفيان بن عيينة.
I'll tell you before that the statement of Sufyan ibn Uyayna.
نعم سفيان بن عيينة من أضراب مالك، هو إمام الحديث مع مالك في الحجاز. هذا هما إماما الحديث.
He is the peer of Imam Malik in hadith. The two imams of hadith were
في الحجاز.
in al-Hijaz were Imam Malik and Sufyan ibn Uyayna.
معناها أصل الوحي.
Meaning that the imam of hadith in the generation of hadith in the land of the hadith.
قال الإمام سفيان بن عيينة الحديث مضلة إلا للفقهاء.
What did he say? He said hadith are a misguidance except for the scholars.
الفقهاء عندهم لا تطلق إلا على المجتهد.
Not the scholars, but the scholars of fiqh or the mujtahideen.
لا تطلق إلا على المجتهدين.
The top scholars of fiqh.
لذلك قال الإمام الشافعي قول المجتهد بالنسبة للعامة كقول الله تعالى بالنسبة للمجتهد.
So they said the ruling. Imam Shafi'i said that the ruling and the right of the statement of the mujtahid, the top level scholar, in comparison to the one who does not have, who did not reach that level, is comparable in its ruling to the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the mujtahid, as in that it's taken and it's not the person's right to question or not question if the person is at that.
وأقول لكم قصة أخرى وستتعجبون منها.
And I'll tell you
كان قصة أخرى عجيبة جدا.
I'll tell you another story that you'll be amazed by.
نعم وفيه رجل في أيام أسد بن الفرات تلميذ من تلامذة مالك.
At the time of Al-Asad ibn al-Furat, from the students of Imam Malik.
سمع رجلا مسكين ما زال يعني معجبا بعلمه.
He saw a man who unfortunately was still impressed with his own knowledge.
يعتقد العلم الكامل فقال مالك وأخطأ وقال مالك وأخطأ وقال مالك وأخطأ حتى عد 40 مسألة.
He saw a man who was so full of himself. He was saying Imam Malik said this and he was wrong, and this is the right thing. Imam Malik said this and he was wrong and this is the right thing. And he mentioned 40 different rulings.
عد 40 مسألة. أسد مرتاح ينتهي.
And Asad ibn Furat is listening to this man and he's comfortable. He's just seeing this spectacle.
لكن الجواب كان صعبا قاتلا.
But he gave him a very devastating response.
قال يا قومي سامعون هذا رجل رأى البحر وأمواجه تتلاطم فبال وقال هذا بحرنا.
The guy was done. He said it seems like this guy he saw the ocean and its waves and so on. And he was then he urinated in a puddle in front of him, and he said, "This is my ocean. This is another ocean." So that means Imam Malik is that terrifying, vast, deep ocean, and this man is just a puddle of urine. We want to know our place in regard to that's our place if we're contradicting them. Somebody who's like me if we contradict them. That you need that ocean in order to clean your filth. So the hadith that was mentioned is simply that one who does hijama and the one who receives hijama both break their fast. That's the literal. But there is none of the scholars of fiqh who took that hadith literally, that hijama actually breaks the fast. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Fatar al-hajimun," that he has broken his fast, the one who does the hijama and the one who receives it. And there is no scholar of fiqh who says that hijama breaks the fast for the one who's giving it or receiving it. And in fact, the scholars have a difference of opinion whether this is whether it's justifiable. If somebody heard this hadith and they misunderstood it and they took it literally, whether they're excused for their understanding or their understanding is so far gone and it's inexcusable and they have to pay the kafara. لابد أن نكمل ذلك عن الكفارة يعني نسيب.
كفارة أي كفارة؟
قلت شيخ على التأويل البعيد والتأويل
سيكمل عليه إن شاء الله. كم الساعة الآن؟
It's 1:54. Naweed, he had a question. He asked, do eye drops break your fast?
هذا عن قطرة العين. إن شاء الله will be mentioned tomorrow.
ذكرونا غدا إن شاء الله. ما
I'll remind us of these two things tomorrow إن شاء الله.
ذكرونا غدا إن شاء الله. عندنا الوقت غدا إن شاء الله. بقي قليل من الصوم.
إن شاء الله there's only just a little bit of the fasting orders remaining. And that's it.
سنتعلم الأوقات ودخولها وأشياء.
إن شاء الله we'll learn the times and the time they enter and so on.
حتى لا نصوم رمضان بالبطلان.
So that we do not have an invalid Ramadan Ramadan.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك.
يعني فقط
خلي